In this video, we're going to use the ScheduleXpress import utility to convert a system that previously was at CX 8.5 running ScheduleXpress for time of day routing. It was upgraded to 8.6. Now 8.6 has the ScheduleXpress functionality, or the time of day directory number routing, built into the system. When you do an upgrade from CX 8.5 to 8.6, it leaves ScheduleXpress in place. Now, in order to go and use the native programming, you can do one of two things. One is go through the ScheduleXpress sx.csv file, the actual schedule, and go manually make your schedule mailboxes. We showed that in a different video. Or you can use the ScheduleXpress import utility to import a ScheduleXpress.csv file and then do the conversion automatically. Now, there's some things you have to be aware of before we get started here. First is, this utility works like the import utility for creating regular mailboxes. Once you commit the changes, it happens live on the system, so your system will be converted to the new routing. That said, you're going to make sure that things are right before you start off. So there's three different phases. Before you get started or before you convert, you should start, of course, with an operational CX 8.6 system. You should have already done the upgrade and it verified that everything is working, and that includes the routing that is being done by the ScheduleXpress utility. Another thing to do is create a backup or a mailbox archive so that if you need to revert back to the old way of doing things or the previous configuration, you can do that easily. Now, it can be undone, what you change with the import utility. It just can't be undone with the click of a button. You're going to have to go through mailbox by mailbox and make it work. So having an archive can be very, very handy. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to make a copy of our schedule, our sx.csv file. When we go to use the import utility, we'll use that file to make our changes if there's anything wrong with the file. Now, when it imports this data, it's going to compare the system configuration to what it sees in this file, and it's going to come back with any errors that might exist. You should fix those errors in the CSV file and then re-import a clean file before committing your changes. Now, it will not import something wrong or something that's not there, and it will not import something that you told it to exclude. That being said, it benefits you to start off with the cleanest schedule that you possibly can. Now, if you have an extra CS or an extra CX machine, one in a lab, it might be a good idea, if you have that utility or have that capability, to try out your changes on that system. Otherwise, you're going to do it on your live production system. You may want to pick the best time to do this. Certainly not probably the busiest call handling time of the day. We're going to import from our system server here. We have a combined system and call server. And I did make some errors, so we're going to have to make some changes to the CSV file so you can see that happening. Once that's done, you do the final import and it should be clean. Once you're done and you've committed your changes and the changes have been made, there will be a log file that you can examine to make sure that everything was done properly. It will also tell you, or you will see the different mailboxes that you can use now to then clean up. You won't need any of the mailboxes that are used for routing, nor will you need the call processors that invoke the ScheduleXpress utility. It's going to find every one of those mailboxes and basically disable them by making the timeout function hang up rather than executing ScheduleXpress. Once that's all done, make sure you test thoroughly so the system is working as you expected. So that all being said, I've already done a backup and I've put it in my documents here. I have an archive file here that I can use to go back if I need to revert back to the older setup. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to CX SX. This is where the ScheduleXpress license is. This is also where the sx.csv file is. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to throw it in my documents. And this is the file I'm going to use to make my changes. So we have that all done. I can start up the administration utility. I have it running here, and we're looking for, under Mailbox, import ScheduleXpress data. You'll get a warning saying this is not reversible. It is, but it takes a long time to do it. If you have multiple CSV files, you might happen to have one on each call server, Some of the call servers might be dedicated to different tasks, like, or you might have them with different PBXs and whatnot. It's a good idea to combine them to one single file before proceeding. There's a number of different times that you can exit out of this utility without committing the changes. Until you finally press the button to implement these, you can always exit and then come back. So yes, I want to continue. I want to grab, not in CXSX, but in my documents. Now it's telling us this is what it found. It's using the USA rule set because this is a USA configured system, and there's a couple of issues. There's a value in the schedule that does not have any associated configuration on the system, and then there is a mailbox set up on the system that is not referenced in the file. So we're going to see those as well as one other error. So what we have here is we have the a rule assignment, and what these are the holidays that the system found in the sx.csv file. So I already had an existing rule for New Year's Day and Independence Day, but I didn't have them for these other holidays. What it's telling me is it's going to put a system override available to use for any mailbox in the system programming here, and it's showing you the different rules and whatnot. Now you can exclude these by simply just pressing X. You can also uncheck if you want to add some other holidays at the same time. So you have your finish, you want to wait for that, cancel if you want to go back and fix something, and of course the help utility and the rules that this conversion utility is using. So we have something right away or straight away that we can see. We have an error here, unknown invalid rule for help desk night. You have a different views here you can click, rule assignments, the schedule mailboxes that will be created. You want to make sure that those are all the departments that are in your sx.csv file. What it found from the ScheduleXpress data, here's the actual file. We can actually see this is the error right here. We're going to go fix it. It says day rather than date. Or it says day rather than days. Details. Excluded items only, comments directed in invalid lines. Now I don't want to commit excluded items. This button really just commits with all the changes that you thought was going to happen. I'll see over here to the right, I can exclude any one of these entries if I want to as well. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to cancel out of this, get rid of the data. I'm going to go to my computer, to the file I was using, and I'm going to fix the error that it saw. This should be days as opposed to day. Any error in this file, you should go back and fix it. I could probably wipe this out at the same time. This is an entry that I don't have existing in my CX machine. So I'll save this. Then I can go back, mailbox, import data. It's in my documents, it's the proper file, and I'll open it up. So we have a little bit better file here going on. Of course, it is the same USA file, but we only have one error here. We have this one mailbox, which is a mailbox up here we'll take care of later. We don't have to worry about that. We'll take care of that after it's all said and done. So if we're happy with the holidays and we're happy with what we saw here in the rule summary, we can say commit excluded items. Now, once this happens, you can't change these. So we'll say, okay, they have been committed. Now, at this point, this is the really cool thing. I can come here and double click and modify the schedule mailbox that's going to be made so it is entered in properly. If I'm happy with this and I don't have any changes, I can click on these and change the schedule any way I want to. Now, by pressing finish, I commit all the changes will happen to my system. If I'm going to continue, it's going to have 4 new system rules. Those are for our holidays. 2 new call routes, 2 call processor mailboxes will be modified. The 2 subscriber mailboxes that were used to route these calls will no longer be needed. as well as the one call processor that is used for routing to ScheduleXpress. And it's going to make a couple of schedule mailboxes for me. This is fine. And it's telling us in my documents there is a text file here that we can look at to make sure or to verify everything that was done. Now let's take a quick look. In my documents, we have our output file here. Basically, it tells you what you just saw on the screen, but you can go back and reference these. This should be, of course, inspected. You'll see this is the mailbox that it changed. These are the mailboxes that I no longer need. These are the schedule mailboxes that it created. So I'm pretty much good with all of those changes. So what you'll see here now is under Configuration System, Call Routing, I have two new routes, and you can see where it was done by the SX or the ScheduleXpress utility. I can then modify these in any way. If I want to change to a different schedule mailbox at this point, I can do that. Now, keep in mind, this is now an active page, so the routing is happening through this page. So be careful with any changes here. With our schedules, we have our new holidays. And in our schedule mailboxes, we may want to come back here and for overrides, so any rules that we want to say add to the sales box that didn't have them before, we could now do that. So check the mailboxes, say maybe one of these days you want to give them another type of override or an extra day here or there. You can do that as well. Now, as far as cleanup goes, we have some subscriber mailboxes we no longer care about. This is the one that we found was doing some routing that we didn't care about anymore. We can delete that. And the two mailboxes that we had set up for routing our ScheduleXpress calls, we can delete those as well. Back here in the call processors, the mailbox that we had to route for ScheduleXpress, you'll notice that the timeout has been changed to hangup. This mailbox now does nothing. You could probably leave it for the time being, but it's something that you could clean up eventually. So at this point, we're happy with the conversion. It looked like it did what it was supposed to do. And now is the time to make some test calls and make sure that these department mailboxes are now functioning as expected.
To learn more about AVST, please visit www.avst.com.